Tonight with you on Transformational Health channel. As usual, Dr. Irina and Dr. David presenting you with Coherent Enlightened Body Treatment Protocol with the Healing Fusion equipment. For this particular protocol, you will need the Healing Fusion tools. You will need your soft laser, your scanner, and your Solaris blanket if you want to do it fast. This particular technique is designed for the condition of stress and anxiety.
And I'm there right now.
Yeah, I can see that. And anxiety, all signs of anxiety are right here in front of me. So anyway, let's talk about stress a little bit. Chronic stress, we all know, is not a good thing. Chronic stress is known to be a source of many diseases and disorders. About 10,000 different diseases and 100,000 of different symptoms. We used to think, and that's normal for us to think, that stress is bad and no stress is good. Actually, we're supposed to have a question mark here, because stress is not necessarily a bad thing. Stress is just a fact of life. It just is. And stress is helpful in many situations. Stress is one of the physiological reactions that our bodies develop in order to deal with extreme factors of outside environment. For example, if you're facing a hungry lion, you develop a condition of stress. And that means that the body at that moment releases a lot of energy. And that energy helps you to run or jump the way you could never run or jump before to save your life. And that is good. So stress is an extreme adaptive reaction of the body and sometimes can harm you. Unfortunately, our bodies did not change much since the beginning of times, and we still give the same reaction to stressful factors as we did several thousand years ago. But stressful factors of outside environment are not the same anymore. We are not really facing hungry lions. We are facing different kind of lions. For example, an angry boss, or an irritated spouse, or someone who cut you off on a highway. These are all stressful factors, and your body goes into condition of stress. But guess what? You can't run, because our civilization really is not designed anymore for us to physically escape of a stressful factor. So you can't really burn that adrenaline that was released in your bloodstream. As a result, your adrenaline starts harming you a little bit at a time. But if your stress persists and develops into chronic stress, that's where the problems begin. Our bodies just are not designed for chronic stress. Now, let's see how our body responds to stress. Our nervous system is divided in two parts. It's sympathetic and parasympathetic parts of our autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for our body's response to stress. When we are going into condition of stress, the sympathetic part of the nervous system gets activated and parasympathetic part gets suppressed. Normally, during the daytime, our sympathetic nervous system is hyperactive, and during nighttime, our parasympathetic part takes over. As you can see on this little drawing, on the right-hand side, you can see the parts of sympathetic nervous system, and all these parts during the condition of stress will go into active mode. Like your pupils dilate, your saliva will dry off, your heart rate accelerates, your breathing accelerates. That's the stressful factor right here. That's how our body actually responds to stress. So everything we talked about just now, you can see in the scared cat. And all the signs of acute stress are there. Animals and people give absolutely the same reaction to stressful factors. This is an acute stress, but imagine if this condition persists and if you are in that state for a fairly long time. And what's going to happen, you go into cycle of a chronic stress. Stress hormone level rise and serotonin levels drop. You go into sense of overload by life challenges. You feel fear and anger and frustration, and what it leads to its increased level of anxiety. Anxiety is one of the main symptoms of stress. So no one likes to be in that condition. It's not good. And what we want to do, we want to put our sympathetic nervous system down and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, so we put them back in balance, because balance means health. Both parts of our autonomic nervous system need to be balanced. Is stress bad? Well, if it's chronic stress, it's not good for you. But is energy of stress bad? No, it's not, because energy is just energy. It cannot be good or bad. It's just the way how you use it. If your energy of chronic stress starts harming you, that's not good. But what we can do with this energy, we can transform it. We can redistribute it. And we can take the energy of chronic stress and give it back to those parts of the body that stress is robbing at the moment. So what we need to do is to put our sympathetic nervous system into relaxation mode and activate the parasympathetic nervous system in order to restore those scales, put them in a condition of balance. Now let's see, what are the ways of dealing with stress in our reality? There are negative ways of dealing with stress, there are positive ways. Negative ways of dealing with stress would include some kind of drugs. If you being yelled at, you will yell at others and you will feel better. You can go into addictions, and addictions, it can be really, really different. Not just smoking and drinking is an addiction, like computer games are an addiction too. It's some kind of a compulsive behavior. When you go into that compulsive behavior, it somehow calms you down. Overuse of coffee, chocolate, gambling, it's all addictions. And guess what? Fighting can be addiction too. You know how, especially men, when they go into that state when they addictively want to fight. I think it was a movie like Fighters Club or something like that.
Brad
That
Pitt, the Fight
yeah,
Club,
yeah, yeah.
right?
So that was just that addiction. Difficult to understand, really. How can you be addicted to abusing your own body? But well, the fact is, a lot of people do. And that is the way of dealing with stress. When you become a workaholic, this is an addiction too, and this is also a way of dealing with stress. We'll of course put here just a few of them, but you can come up with many other ways. All these ways of dealing with chronic stress are not positive, and they are all harmful to your system. We can, though, develop positive ways of dealing with stress. For example, we can learn to meditate. We can do serious attitude adjustment and do not accept factors of outside environment. Don't take them close to your heart. If someone yells at you, you just think to yourself, well, it's their problem, not mine. I know what I'm worth, and really, it's not my problem. And you can teach yourself to accept and behaviors of others in that way. It's difficult to do though, especially if you have a thin skin. But we can learn to grow a thick skin. Don't know if it's good or not, but you can learn that type of behavior. Very good way of dealing with chronic stress is creating a support system for yourself. Like surround yourself with your loved ones, friends who you can talk to, with people who love you, with pets. Pets are a great way of dealing with chronic stress. They love you unconditionally, and just as you feel anxiety, feel anger, fear, you hug your favorite cat, you go for a walk with your dog, and you feel much better right away. Different hobbies, different passions that you put yourself into, even especially if it's creative habits, creative hobbies like music or painting or dancing, and sport. Sport is an absolutely wonderful way of dealing with chronic stress, because it burns that adrenaline that harms you, and we're supposed to react to stress with physical activities. So sports is a great way of burning your adrenaline. and creating for yourself 4-hour work week. Well, of course, not a four. Please don't take it literally. It's not really 4-hour work week, but it's a book. 4-hour work week is a book, one of our favorites, which actually teaches you how to put your business on autopilot and enjoy life, because life is short.
I think
So
we need to read that book again.
yeah, yeah, we absolutely do. You unplug from your business, you unplug from your routine, and just go do something totally different. Go boating or take a trip to Hawaii, or I don't know.
Sure.
Do something, but unplug completely. No computers, no phones, no nothing. Just unplug. So that's all the ways of dealing. These are positive ways, actually. They are good for you. But unfortunate part is that these ways, they take time. Like, but what do you do if you're under acute stress? What can you do if you just going into some kind of anxiety now? If pressures of the day are so huge that you can't really deal with them, you don't have time for meditation, your attitude adjustment doesn't help anymore, support system runs away from you, you're really not in a good mood for sports or hobbies. So what do you do then? You still need to protect yourself and your loved ones from you. So here we come with a new protocol with our Coherent Enlightened Body Treatment with the Healing Fusion tools.
Here's the gold.
Yeah, so you see here our Healing Fusion tools. You have your soft laser, your Dove, and your 715. So we actually will tell you a little story that happened just 3 days ago. We had a phone call. Actually, Dr. David had a phone call, and I will let him tell you that story.
A lovely woman called. We'll call her G. The situation is it was important for her to get a lot of information of how to help her business and how to use the healing fusion in a clinic in different settings. And this person was just in so much stress. And luckily, I have enough presence of mind to say, hey, let's stop for a second and let's get a readout. Where are you right now? And she said, hey, my stress level is 9 out of a 10. I said, okay, where are you feeling tightness? Where are you feeling pain in the body? Where are you feeling uncomfortable? And she said, well, my neck and shoulders are just 9 out of a 10. Then asked, well, where do you have any other type of discomfort? And she said, hey, my wrists, I do quite a bit of massage. I do lots of work with my hands. My pain and discomfort in my wrists is a 4. My under so much stress that I actually even have rashes, or almost like heat rashes, or kind of rashes all over my body. And I had a, she was able to help us to say, hey, I feel hopeless. I'm desperate. I don't feel like there's really any way really what's going on. So she had the Healing Fusion program. She's already gotten some wonderful trainings. She's helped a lot of incredible people out there, but sometimes we need to help ourselves quickly. So I said, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a new protocol, and we're going to take that soft laser and we're going to put it on the thymus area, on the heart area. And let's use mode 2 to start. And let's take that Dove and put it on C7. Oh, David, Dr. David, I'd see miracles with that C7. So, and that's great. And then cover herself with the Solaris blanket while that all is going on. Also, there was one more thing that we actually added, and that was for her at that time, the thought of doing really well in her business and seeing lots of clients and the work situation that she was under just wasn't going well. And when you get a poopy outlook, it's really hard to see anything other than more poopiness. So we said, hey, take your fingers in your hands and to gently put them on your forehead, and after you calm down a little bit and see what's going on, see if you can reflect seeing uh, uh, new clients coming to you, actually lined up to do that. Um, and I asked her, actually challenged her to please report back in 30 minutes about what happened. Well, she did. She did all those things, complied beautifully. She called after 30 minutes. I did not recognize her. This was a very coherent person, and where before the stress was so high, is all you wanted to do was just give her a hug, or sometimes you just want to kind of shake them. Come on, it's going to be okay. She said my stress level reduced to a low 3. My rashes even subsided quite a bit. They're not gone, but they definitely reduced. The pain in the neck and shoulders were a 3 and a 4, 3 to a 4. And now range of motion was better. It was easier for be able to move her head around. What was wonderful was seeing that the pain and discomfort in her wrists, even though we never worked there, was lighter, maybe a low 3 instead of a high 3 or a 4. But she said, Dr. David, the most incredible change is I now feel like there's hope. And you could just tell that she felt much more centered and she was going to get on with life. And she really said this program was a miracle. And what was so beautiful was then, well, how are we gonna call this? How are we gonna help some of your other new patients, new clients, new customers to come and see you? And that's where we got the name Coherent Enlightened Body Treatment, because this person knows beautifully how to do the Coherent Enlightened Beauty Treatment that Dr. Raina has taught. So let's just take a look at the before and after. Stress level before was a 9. After 20
And
minutes,
CEBT stands for Coherent Enlightened Body Treatment.
the pain and neckness in the shoulders, 9 to a 3 and 4. The wrist pain from a 4 to a low 3. Body rashes, if we gave a number of that, was an 8, now to a 5. Now here is another aspect that was so incredible. Energy levels went from a 3, if you want to call it 30% in her tank, not much reserve, now to a 7. Amazing change there. Amazing. Emotions change from hopeless, desperate, depressed to now centered, positive, hopeful, cheerful. Person's typically cheerful every time we've ever talked. Now that's a miracle to do that quickly and to be able to self-treat that. And I asked G, I said, G, do you feel that other customers would love to have that experience? Oh my gosh, absolutely. I said, and it takes 20, 30 minutes. That's, we can easily charge $30, $45 for that. That's amazing. We could be making $90 to $150 an hour, which I believe maybe even be higher than what she's currently charging as a massage therapist. So let's talk about what we did, what she did, and what Dr. Raina and I have found out so we can share with you of how to do this that quickly and how to get great results now. The first thing, and so importantly, it's to get an assessment. It's to get that snapshot where the person is before. What is the stress?
And to do the same assessment after the procedure is done, so you see in reality where you are. So it's really good to take a piece of paper and divide it into parts and do before and after.
So find out what the stress level is. How is it subjectively? Is it 1, very, very, very low, or is it 10 where my head's ready to explode? What is the physical state? What's the energy level? So in that case, find out where the pain is in the body or the discomfort and write that down. And then find out where.
And assess everything on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being nothing to 10 being maximum.
And then look at the mental state. In this case, write down, do they have clarity of thoughts? Or how's their working capacity, their memory, concentration? Of course, if they're in deep doo-doo land, it's going to be a little harder to assess that before, but it'll be a lot easier to assess it after. Then the emotional state. What's the mood? also, we worked with two other people on Monday also, and one of the people we worked in very rarely in an emotional state of depression, and that person said, "I've never felt any more depressed than I am now." Well, that's a big one, and other aspects of emotional state, like and then to actually score them what they are. Then spiritual state. One of the ones that I work with people, or we work with people on, is loneliness, uh, hopefulness, the ability to how much joy are we feeling. Again, sometimes we can't always get a good pre, but we can ask those questions after. And we assess on a scale of 0 being nothing to 10 being the worst, or it could even be the best it could be, depending on the state. Now, how do we do the program? Well, the first thing is a Solaris blanket. And that is you're actually going to put your client in the blanket during the procedure for 15 to 20 minutes. In this case, we're showing it first, and yet the burrito-ness is probably the last part that we actually do, but
Yeah,
we, we,
because
we
the
use,
laser and scanner and laser go inside the blanket.
right, right. So it's kind of hard to put it inside the blanket if they're already wrapped up. But the Solaris blanket is such a big part of this. Next is increasing the energy level and then the systematic coherency. And what we do there is we use the soft laser. We found putting that first on the heart chakra in mode 2 is a great place to start.
Well, what you see on the picture is not quite a heart chakra, but you can still keep the laser just in the area, just above your sternum, above your chest, and you will get the result anyway. And as you can see on the picture, Steve, and that's the that's the guy you see on the picture. It is not even undressed, so we are holding a laser over his clothes. It's still okay.
The next part is working to balance actually the autonomic nervous system. And this is where we will be using the scanar and the cosmotic device. And a great place to start is to dose the C7.
On the right-hand side of the slide, you see different versions of cosmetic devices and DAV as a scanner. So this is just schematics, how you find C7. It's the first prominent vertebra on your neck. If you slide your index finger from your base of the skull down along the spine, the first vertebra that sticks out will be your C7. So C7 is a junction box of the body. So it is something that basically good for any situation, and it has a direct connection to immune system, so it's considered an immune vertebra. This is Steve again. So that's where C7 is. So we are putting Dav right on his C7. And in order for us not to stand there and wait for the dose, because that's the best way of dealing with C7 is to dose it with, well, you already know what dose is. So to dose it with Dav or Cosmotic. And it may take a long time, especially when you're under stress. So in order to free your hands, you see a piece of strap on the right. You can just stick the dove behind person's collar, or if you see that there is no good connection, because sometimes C7 can be tricky that way, and electrodes will not be in good contact with the skin, then you just put it on a piece of strap.
And this strap is just an ace bandage that we had, wrapping knees or ankles or whatever, but it's just an ace
And
bandage.
that's the same bandage you saw on the first slide, where Stephen put a laser on the strap, and we
Right,
wrapped him in it.
right. And the other thing too is we baptized Steve in a different way. His skin was very dry. So what we did is we added a little bit of moisture with a little bit of
Water.
water um, right on his C7, and then it made a better contact. So that's where we go. Um, After we dose the um, the C7, and in G's case, this didn't happen. But if we go to that next step, after it doses, it would then be wonderful to dose the coccyx. And you see what what we did in the first picture. I just kind of moved his pants out a little bit, and that made a wonderful connection. And boy, that's a beautiful statue there. It kind of shows exactly where we want to put it.
And this is really a protocol that takes only 15-20 minutes to do. All you do is to wrap a person in a blanket, stick a laser on a heart chakra, and just keep redoing cycle after cycle, and put the dove or yokosmotic on a C7, dose it, and then on the tailbone and dose it. That's it. That's the whole thing. And takes about 15-20 minutes. And with in situation with G, the coccyx wasn't even necessary. It was just C7. Only one place
Right.
for the dove, C7, and it was a dove, right? It was a
Right.
dove. She had a dove, yeah.
Right.
So it was a dove. 20 minutes in the blanket, dove on C7, and about 5 cycles. I think 5 cycles on the heart chakra with the laser.
Yeah.
About 5 cycles.
Right.
Yeah, about 15 minutes. And you saw the difference. Now, that particular protocol doesn't have to be applied only in the case of stress. It can be really, really helpful and useful in cases of many other diseases and disorders, because a sick person is always under stress, first of all. And second of all, we always have overactive sympathetic nervous system if the body is trying to deal with some kind of pathology. So this particular case happened that you see on the screen, meet Gail. We were in the Bahamas, right, in December of last year, just a year ago, during United Technologies Conference.
Gail came to the conference knowing she had to be there with pneumonia, and literally should have never been on that plane. And without getting involved too much in the story, the bottom line is we had an opportunity to actually get Gail tested with some other wonderful equipment at the conference, and one of them is called a PIP. You'll find out what that means in a minute. Poly contrast something, but what we did is very simply, in this case.
But
right.
What's important for you to know is that Gail had a good case of pneumonia.
Oh, horrible.
She was coughing, difficulty breathing, she was wheezing, but she came to the conference knowing that someone on the conference is going to help her, and someone pointed her in our direction. So she came over. She really didn't look good. If you can see her on the very first picture, and Dr. David did muscle monitor her. To do the assessment. And guys, if you can do muscle monitoring, this is a great way of pre and post assessment. But if you can't, just assess yourself on a scale from 0 to 10.
In this case, we just assess the energy level and then the energy level over different organ systems. But the assessment that we shared with you earlier is just profound.
And you can see on this slide actually everything that has been done to her, just as we described. First of all, we wrapped her in a blanket, and on the picture on the bottom left, you see Dr. David is holding a laser. So the laser was given to Gail. On the next picture, bottom right, she's holding a laser under the blanket, and Dr. David is holding a dove on her C7 from behind her. So it was only 3 places. Dove on C7, a laser on the heart chakra, and the blanket around her. And it was about 20 to 30 minutes, because at the same time we were doing our talk. So the talk was going on, and we do have this video in full. So we did, of course, our recording as we usually do at the conferences. So we have the whole thing taped. So this, what you see on the screen, is just screen captures from that video.
And you can see that video, that demonstration, at laserscannerfusion.com. At the bottom of that page is a video media player, and you can just press that.
And at the same time, in another room, there was guys who were doing this polycontrast interference photography, and Thornton Streeter, as a doctor who was actually conducting the tests and assessing, reading the results. So here we will let you listen to Dr. Thornton, who is describing these pictures that you see, the polycontrast photography.
So I'm pneumonia. I'm comparing 0055 with 0151. And I'm comparing them because I just really like the improvement here, especially with regard to the throat center and the area around the sort of top of the lungs, or, you know, comparing those two. So we can tell there's this pattern, and the good thing about it is that, you know, the integrity of the image is pretty good. You can see certain patterns which are very much her patterns. She's got this very distinctive pink congestion here on the top of her chest, and we can see green is what we want to see. So if we just look at the size of this green patch here on the after image as opposed to the before, it's, you know, it's 50% bigger, which therefore means that the pink, which is much more substantial in size, has shrunk quite considerably. And it's also, you can see the green breaking through. So here there's a solid pink patch, and here it's starting to get kind of the balance is coming through. In this image, the most obvious change, it's 0048 compared with 0061. And again, these are two comparable pictures. You see, the colours themselves can change on very simple movements. You see very well that it's before and after. There's a day gap. She's wearing the same bra, thing, and you can see this shoulder strain, which is effectively a heart chakra blockage. It's exactly coming in through the lungs. Again, that's reduced probably by 30%.
And she cleared mostly on the right, and from front and back, she cleared on the right.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, that's what we're seeing.
So the amazing thing is what Dr. Streeter said, is he hadn't seen any devices that could give that big a change on pneumonia.
30% change in 15 minutes.
in 30 minutes, right? It couldn't see it at all. He just was blown away enough where he then asked to do more tests, actually in India with many other subjects, and that process
it wasn't just changes on the pictures. It was also a change in her general state and the complaints.
She would now run around the conference versus kind of, you know, and just totally different demeanor. Again, it just, her life was incredibly shifted. So,
where can you use this protocol? If you stressed yourself and you feel anxiety before, let's say, important meeting, or before the exam, or you are dead tired after a hard day at work, and you come back and you cannot really find the center or balance, 15-20 minutes is nothing to spend on yourself. Wrap yourself in a blanket, stick the C-Dove or your Cosmotic on your C7, and especially in this case, tailbone in particular, and put laser on your heart chakra. Now, with a laser, you also can use it, especially if you have a headache or feel a lot of tension on the top of your head. You can use a wave laser above your head, also in mode 2, or you can put laser on the third eye, just all over your head. What does all this do? Let's go to the protocol and see. Blanket gives you a reflection. Blanket shows you where you have too much energy and where it's too little. So blanket then will help to take the energy, and stress energy is almost concentrated around your head and neck and shoulders, as you know. So with the blanket, it's really important that you cover your head with the blanket as much as you can, because you need to take that excessive energy and move it to the areas of the body which now are robbed of the energy, because stress robbed the rest of your body. And the blanket will help to redistribute energy more evenly all throughout your body. Scanner, the dove on your junction box C7, will help to do the same thing. It's a redistribution of energy. And scanner on a tailbone will activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is really suppressed at the moment. Q1000 or Q10, your soft laser on your heart chakra, will recharge your biological battery and also will help you being more centered and more coherent. And of course, a laser over your head will help to make your thoughts more coherent. All these methods are there to transform the energy of your stress, not to remove it. Please note that. You are not going to remove energy, because you don't want to take energy away from your body. What you want to transform it, redistribute it, and change the quality of that energy so it becomes more coherent energy and helps your body to function versus preventing it from doing what it's supposed to do. So you can do it for yourself. You can do it for your clients easily. You can give your client a laser and give a scanner and just go along with your day and do some other things while the client's sitting in the waiting room doing the protocol. Or you can help them. You can do it as add-on to your treatments, and especially important if your client came to your treatment in the condition of stress. As you know, if you have a stressed client, most of the treatment, especially holistic treatment practices, are not going to work, because stress can block any kind of subtle influences on the body that you're gonna do. Acupuncture treatment, homeopathy treatment, Reiki treatment are not going to work if your client is in a condition of especially acute stress. This 15-20 minute treatment is a great way of preparing your client for other practices or other techniques that you're going to use on them. Even if it's not the fusion equipment practices, but anything, even massage or chiropractic procedure, or especially dental procedure, that's going to help a lot.
A great question is how to treat if I only have a dove and a blanket. Well, pretty simply, we just use the blanket on, and then you would have the client themselves move the dove on the point of the C7, or you can help them with that. The procedure will take a lot longer to get the same effects as if we use the soft laser at the same time. Then we would then use the dove then on the heart area below the thymus,
sternum,
on
just
the
on
sternum. And then what we would do is very easily put it on the orbits.
On the forehead. You basically just can paint the forehead and put dove on the third eye, right between your eyebrows. This protocol, by the way, you can use even on pets. You easily can calm down your dog or a kitty with just wrapping them in a blanket and sticking the laser inside the blanket. The scanner, you have to, in this situation, you probably will not be able to use a hair attachment, but you can wet the fur a little bit and put the dove or a scanner, whatever scanner you have, on the minimum energy level, and right about the shoulder blades. Just wet the fur a little bit, and it will be enough for enough conductivity for scanner to work. So little scanner on a shoulder, between the shoulder blades, laser on their belly, on their chest, or just under the blanket, and wrap them in a blanket. 10-15 minutes, they will be good as new.
Here's a question: is how do I dose C7 if I only have a 97.4?
With 97.4, you don't dose, you wait for zero. Those guys who have scanners of first generation, you know what it means. Dose with them comes up real fast, just a few seconds, and it's not the dose that we want. What we want with the scanners of first generation, if it's 97.4 or written scanner or any other first generation scanner, you have to wait for zero, for them to zero. And as you know, zero also, it doesn't have the sound indicator. Then you have to watch the screen.
Laser mode 2 only for this protocol. The modes of the laser are kind of like colors of a palette. We've found that the Schumann wave, which is what mode 2 is just wonderful. The other one we use very successfully is mode 5. Alliant clients like mode 1. Um, Really, this is where you can experience different colors of a palette, and see how other modes might affect you. Um, what is happening with the dove when it's doing fine and then it goes and quote bites?
It actually is not dove. It's your body all of a sudden opens up and quickly changes resistance of the skin. The signal of the dove doesn't change, but your body all of a sudden lets the energy in, and that's when you jump. It may happen, it may not, and it's actually a good sign. It means that the body now is opening up. It stopped resisting. So it is a good sign, but it may be unpleasant. So just um, keep your dove a little bit. If you know that your body is, or your client's body is, tends to do that, put the level on the dove a little bit down.
Another question from Brian: would it be benefit if one has a dove but can't afford the most expensive model? Can one benefit from using a sea dove with the dove? Absolutely. In I want to say the old days, the way that we work so beautifully is to use a dove and the sea dove together. The one client we were talking about on Monday, this person who was very depressed, and they never get depressed, had an opportunity to work with 3 instruments with them. We had a dove on their C7. We had a dove on the actual coccyx, and we also I used a dove on their forehead, or the third eye, and then we moved the Q1000 around. What was interesting about this case is when we did the pre and post, the stress level just reduced a little bit, and we could have said, oh, well, we didn't get this miraculous result where her stress was a 9 out of a 10, and it reduced mildly to like a 7. And the energy level did come up a little bit, but there wasn't these dramatic changes. But boy, was there dramatic changes the next day. The next day when they called, how are you doing? They said, I'm singing for the first time in a long time. I'm skipping around. They were able to sleep for the first time in many weeks, and they had hope again. So if you have some clients who don't seem to respond miraculously like G did, or even Gail, that's okay. It's still going to be powerful. And in this case, we did do a little bit more of kind of like EFT places. We actually had them work on different meridians and kind of tap a little bit. Where have you located the scanner on pecs?
It's not on coccyx, actually the base of their tail. It corresponds to their sacrum, so it's the very base of their tail, basically on the back. How would you call that place?
I don't know, just where the tail connects.
Okay, where the tail connects.
How's that? The connecting tail part. That's it. That's a great part.
Connecting tail part.
Thank you, Leslie. Perfect description. Thanks. How low can the battery get for the dove to remain effective?
The battery doesn't really matter. It's not the charge of the battery, and the energy level doesn't matter either. So you put it on the minimum, just to turn the dove on, and just do that. Just turn it on.
And if you see the lights kind of change a little bit, then put new batteries in. And actually, what we'd really recommend would be have another set of batteries. If you think that the first set that you have in your dove is low, then put another set in and see if there's a change. If there's a change,
we usually always, before putting the dove on anyone, if it's a pet or a human, we usually test the energy level on ourselves, and I typically put it on my neck, just because neck is a very sensitive part. But with doves, in most situations, it works or it doesn't. So when battery dies, it doesn't work. If battery still has a little juice in it, it will still work fine, effect-wise. Now, rest assured that you're doing everything you can to have stress-free life. So rest assured and have a stress-free life. And here you see our cat Bella.
We should all be so happy.
We are trying to do our best to deliver the best information for you here with Transformational Health Systems, where education is the key, and if you know the why,
You can do the how.